let's look at adding contacts to Outlaw Practice. The first thing you should understand is that contacts in Outlaw Practice are universal. There is no separate list of clients. Per se, there is no separate list of leads. These contacts will be used for a lead. They will be used for a case. But contacts exist on their own. Secondly, in Outlaw Practice, we really encourage you to add every person as a contact. So, for example, don't just list kids' names in a note. Make them contacts. The reason you can do that is you can track their age and do all kinds of other things that you wouldn't be able to do if they were just hidden in a note somewhere. So here is the screen for contacts. We have a few contacts already in the system. You can see some of them over looking at the icons. They have a blue badge attached to a lanyard. That means they are system users. Here you see more address card looking icons. That means they're regular users. And on two of these you see little money bags. That means they are attached to leads. If they were attached to a case, you would see this case icon here over by the side. If it's both a lead and a case, you'll just see the case icon. Alright, so we have a couple of these here attached to a lead. Let's take a look at John Doe. So there's a lot of information that you can add. You can add middle names, suffixes, titles, nicknames, billing names, and even aliases. And these are useful mainly when you are doing searches. So when you are trying to do a search to find out whether or not you have a conflict. All right, so make sure you put as much information as here as possible. So for example, let's say that John also goes by John, J-O-N, right? Maybe he also goes by Johnny. We want to make sure we capture all of those. Company. You can add a company here, and as you can see right up here is company. A company is a contact as well. A company will show up in the system, for example, when you are entering receipts for a case, expenses. The expense will be paid to a person or a company. So let's say that John works for UPS. So we'll just create UPS there. John doesn't have a separate billing name, but if he did, for example, if he really preferred it, let's say his middle name was John Anthony, and he really prefers to see John Anthony Doe, perhaps because he lives with his father, who is John Lewis Doe, and he wants to make sure that the mail gets to him. The billing name will show up on invoices, as is, however you type it in here. Okay. So there is a lot of information that you can add to a contact. You can add phones, emails, and addresses, which we call contact methods. There's custom fields, which we showed how to create in a previous video. There are relationships. Relationships can be at the contact stage. You're probably looking at familial, although it doesn't have to be. And they are two-way. So for example, if we add a relationship to Jane Doe will also get the reverse relationship. So if Jane Doe is the wife, then he will get the husband. So if we went into Jane Doe, we would see that Jane Doe is the spouse of John Doe. We have leads and cases, which is not something you enter into, but it tells you exactly what leads and cases they're a part of. We have events. Events are where you put things that are related to a date, something that happened in time. So for example, an event could be a birthday. This is where you put date of birth in our system. It could also be, let's say that you do criminal defense. An event could be a jail term. It could be when your client went into jail, when he came out. It could be when somebody got married, the date of their first marriage, their second marriage. Right? We have identification, and that is any form of identification that might be important. It could be a driver's license. So if this is a DUI case, you'll want to grab the driver's license. If you are doing immigration law, you might want to get passport and visa information and put it in there. Then we have time entries, which are tasks. You can create a task and associate it with a contact. So if this person doesn't have a lead, doesn't have a case, maybe there's somebody that you work with. It could be another attorney, for example, and you want to make sure that you make a call to that person. You could create a task right here, and it would associate them with that person. You've got notes and attachments associated with this person. So for example, you could have some files that could, for example, be a scan of their ID or of their passport. And then of course there's private discussion, which is just your notes between you and the staff. about what's going on with this contact. For example, if somebody tried to call them and left a voicemail, you can put that here. So let's fill in some of these. Let's start with contact methods. First, let's add a phone number. Make it a mobile number, 512-555-1519. I'm going to say yes, you can contact this number, and it is the primary number for that person. We can add an email, personal. Let's make this johndoe@example.com. And let's not contact this. Right? Maybe this number is, this email address rather, is shared with his wife, and he wants this to go to his work. So we'll add a work email instead. Make a business email. We'll say johndoe@ups.com. And we will make this the primary. All right. You'll notice that it is in red and it is in strikeout to make sure that nobody uses this to contact John. For an address, give him a home address. How about 7812 Menchaca Road, Austin, Texas, USA. We'll let Google fill that in for us. We can enter the county manually if Google doesn't find it for us. Same thing, can contact is primary, yes, and is current. So if this is an old address, we can unset this. That way we can keep track of lots of different addresses over time. All right, you can see Travis County clearly set up in the front. That's useful so that you can quickly see what county this person lives in. All right, we already have answers to the questions from a different video, so we won't focus on those. Relationships, we already have a relationship here. Jane Doe is John Doe's spouse. So we have the information we need there. We could fill in some contact information for Jane Doe as well. We'll leave that as it is. Leads and cases, we can see John Doe has an uncontested divorce lead with us. All right. Now let's add a birth date. That's an event. Birth date. And if it isn't here, we can create it. These are completely up to you. If you click on the configure button, it will take you to the configuration screen where you can create as many categories as you like, but you can always fill them in on the fly like this as well. Let's say that John was born 1/1/2000. And participants here refers to anybody else that was present or that you want to include in this event. So for a birth date, it probably doesn't make any sense. I guess you could put the person's mother and father. This probably becomes more into play if you're looking at things like a trial, for example, or maybe this would be a person's first and second divorces. You could put who they were married to and who they were divorcing at the time. But for this one, we'll leave it blank. Let's add some identification. How about a driver's license? And we'll give it a random Texas ID that I'm pretty sure is fairly invalid. For the issuer, you can put whatever you want. Say it was issued on 1/1/2020 and expires on 1/1/2025. Any additional information can be added here. I think we're good. All right. Time entries, we're not going to enter any of those here. A separate video completely on how to do time entries. Notes and attachments, exact same thing. Private discussion, let's say that we called and left a voicemail on 5/2/2021. All right. And that's it. We've added a contact. Let's go ahead and look out. Here we can see John Anthony Doe. We have the bill as, we have the aliases. So these are easily viewable. Again, if you're doing a conflict search, this is all going to fall under the conflict search and it'll come up. If you are on your phone, for example, and look at this information, you can tap on this number and it'll place the call for you. Same thing here. If you click on any of these, it will open up your default mail editor and you can write an email to them. All right. That's all there is to creating contacts. In other videos, we'll show you how to choose contacts for leads and for cases.